Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Our next guest is a New York Times best-selling author whose latest book explores the idea of consciousness and humanity. We welcome the author of A World Appears, A Journey into Consciousness, Michael Pollan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Hannah. Thanks for having me.
You've written lots of books about the brain and food and nutrition, our bodies. Just some light fare, this whole consciousness idea. I mean, what made you pursue this project?
I got really curious. So consciousness is a funny thing, right? It's this miracle that we have this space in our head where we can talk to ourselves, and everything we perceive is through consciousness, but we don't think about it very often. It's like the water we swim in. But I had some experiences with psychedelics working on my last book, How to Change Your Mind. And there's a way in which psychedelic experience makes consciousness seem kind of more obvious to you. It's like smudging the windshield that normally is totally transparent. And suddenly you're wondering, hey, there's a windshield. What's that about? And could it be different?
Yeah.
So that started me on this path of like, what do we know about consciousness? Turns out it's one of the three biggest mysteries that there are. The other two being, how do you get life out of dead matter? How did life evolve? And why is there something rather than nothing in the universe?
So it's more stuff for you to work on.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to go after those other two.
Well, I didn't realize that consciousness as a scientific study, it really hasn't been worked on for that many years.
Yeah, it's very new. It was considered kind of a career killer for a long time because we knew so little about it. And it wasn't until Francis Crick, the guy who discovered DNA and got a Nobel Prize, he said, all right, for my next trick, I'm going to crack consciousness.
Okay.
How is it that 3 pounds of tofu between your ears generates the experience of being you? And he didn't succeed. No one has succeeded. It's called the hard problem because it's really hard. And we may never figure it out.
Yeah. There's a line in the introduction that kind of states the idea that you could live your whole lifetime without even thinking about consciousness.
And I'm sure there are people who do.
Right? But it's like once you've said that, then you're thinking about it, and then I'm already spiraling. So
yeah, all I have to do is say, so what are you thinking about?
Exactly.
And suddenly you realize, yes, while we're talking to each other, you have a dialogue going on in your head of like, what is he saying?
Yeah.
Do I understand it? Is he crazy? You know, I mean, this is constantly going on, and we never talk about it.
What about plants and consciousness? What did you uncover in that category?
That was really interesting. So I wanted to see how far in nature consciousness extends. We used to think humans were the only conscious species, but now we know that primates are conscious and lots of mammals are conscious, and now we're sort of thinking that birds may be conscious, even reptiles and insects, there's a conversation about. So I wanted to take a really hard case, and so I took plants. I'm very interested in plants. I've written about them before. And are plants conscious? And there's some amazing experiments going on with plants that show that they can learn and remember up to 28 days, that they can see. We don't know how, but they can see not just shadow and light, but there's a vine that can change its leaf form to mimic the leaf form of a plant that it's climbing on.
Wow.
And the same anesthetics that put humans out will put plants out. If you have a Venus flytrap, it won't work if you anesthetize it. So are they conscious? I concluded that I wouldn't use the word consciousness for them because they don't have this internal voice. But sentience, which is a kind of more basic form of consciousness, they probably do have. This is the ability to be aware of your environment and know and recognize good and bad changes in your environment and respond accordingly. They do have that. They don't operate strictly by instinct. They make decisions. And so there's a lot more going on in plants than I ever thought.
Sure. Well, then what about what differentiates humans from other animals who also have consciousness? Do we experience it differently, or how much do we
think
know,
so.
Right?
We think so. It's very hard to get into the head of a cow, and although I've tried. But I think human consciousness is probably special in the sense that we have self-consciousness.
Okay.
We're not just aware, we're aware that we're aware. We think about consciousness. We can imagine not being conscious, which is what makes the whole problem a problem. we don't think that animals have that, although we recently discovered that chimpanzees, I think it was, have imagination.
Okay.
You can play a game with them and pretend and have a tea party with pretend tea, and just like with a 4-year-old, you know, they'll
Amazing.
pour it and they'll sip it, and they
Okay.
know it's not there,
Right.
but they have enough imagination. So, you know, as time goes on, we realize the world is a lot more conscious than we ever thought.
So you looked at this from lots of different perspectives, scientific, philosophical. Were there certain through lines of maybe not forms of agreement, but maybe some themes that come through depending on how you look at this?
Yeah, I mean, I realized science was not the only lens to
Yeah.
look at consciousness from, and the scientists haven't gotten that far. But I realized also, though, novelists and poets know a lot about consciousness. I mean, it's one of the reasons we read novels, is to get in touch with someone else's consciousness. Art is a way that we, you know, there's a breach between our consciousness, you know. I can't see into your head. We're not transparent to one another. But when we read novels, we feel like we are. So I found that literature has a lot to teach us about consciousness. And also Buddhism. They've been, you know, Buddhists have been thinking about consciousness for a really long time, and there's a lot of wisdom there. And I ended up, you know, going to a Zen retreat and spending several days living in a cave at the suggestion of a Zen teacher who thought I was over-intellectualizing the problem, and she wanted me to have an experience of consciousness.
Right. I was going to ask you about that, because it's one thing to sign up for a retreat with an expert that you're going to interview.
Which is what I thought I
and
was
then
getting myself
becomes,
into.
Michael, you're going to stay in a cave for a few
Yes,
days.
and she sent me to the cave. And it was a really interesting experience, and it made me realize I had narrowed my focus trying to solve a problem, the problem of consciousness. And I was overlooking the fact that it's an incredible gift that we have this internal space of complete mental freedom. And frankly, we're squandering it now with, you know, scrolling on social media, and now with these relationships people have with chat bots. We're giving away our consciousness, and we really need to protect it, because it's one of the most precious gifts of being human.
That's a great way to think about it. It's not an endless resource.
No, it's not.
There are limits to it.
And we're, you know, we're letting people monetize it.
Yeah.
We're letting, you know, companies like Meta and TikTok, you know, they're after our consciousness. That's what they're selling to their advertisers.
We wanted to give a shout out before we ran out of time. Your awesome family. You come from some pretty cool people, and look how much you guys love each other. This is so sweet.
It's a very, very close family, and a lot of writers in the mix.
Yes.
And my sisters and mother wrote a wonderful cookbook a couple years ago, and my dad wrote several books too.
You just have to keep outdoing each other, I suppose.
Yeah, we're not competitive. We're very supportive.
Well, we're happy to celebrate you, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, thank you, Hannah.
Such a
what
fabulous
pleasure.
book. Okay, so Michael has a book event tonight. It's at 7:30 at Revolution Hall on Stark Street. The book, again, is A World Appears. We're going to have all the information for you on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.